So let's jump into some reissue discussion. Now, reissues, when it partakes to America, has always been somewhat of a smaller animal than it has been in Japan. We didn't have a humongous amount of reissues in the retail market when it comes to Generation 1 Transformers like Japan has. And as a result, it's never been too much of an issue when it comes to buying them in the secondary market. It's always been, how do I put it? It's always been more of a collector market thing, meaning like chances are if you were going to buy a reissue, it was going to be mint in box or loose with the box, and you knew it was a reissue. And it was very rare that you ever came to a situation where you were buying a loose one and you didn't know if it was the original or not. And I mean, again, it was such a short list. Like the commemorative series that like started in, what was it, like 2002, 2003, with Optimus, which had the short smokestacks. You know, Rodimus was kind of the harder one to tell, but even then you just look for a date stamp. And the stickers were way more foiled out. You know, Ultra Magnus, same thing with the smokestacks. Then we go on to Power Master Optimus Prime with the Apex armor, again with the smokestacks. Starscream with his missiles, something funky there. And the rounded off nose cone, you know, Jazz. And I just keep going and going and going. If you're buying a complete G1 figure in America, it's pretty easy to tell if it was a reissue or not. And the reason why I bring up this whole topic is because recently there's been sightings of Astrotrain, finally his reissue showing up in Walmart, and people reporting finally now getting them in hand and saying, what is the difference between this one and the original? Because I always wanted that when you're going to be hunting in the future for reissues, especially when you're going to conventions and stuff, that you're able to know if you're buying the original or not. And in the past, this hasn't been a problem because it was mostly a collector market. But I mean, with the prevalence now of cheap reissues because of Walmart, imagine in the next 5 years how many mini bots are going to be showing up in the secondary market and in garage sales and in flea markets. It's going to be absolutely nuts. And you're going to be picking up some mini bots and you're not going to know if it's the original. Yeah, sure, Bumblebee you're going to be able to tell because of the face sculpt, but some of the others you might not know. You know, you might pick up an Outback and not be too sure unless you know the little fine details of it, and there is fine details to tell the difference between the two. But it's something that I always want to bring this to the podcast and educate people and educate the listeners of what to look out for so they know if they have the original or not. Obviously, if you're getting it for $1, who cares, right? But I mean, if someone's selling something to you and it's a loose figure and they're saying it's the original 1985 G1, I want you to know for sure it is or not. And so let's talk about Astrotrain. So Astrotrain is hit. It's at Walmart. You can pick it up online right now or in person in stores. It's $49.67 American. Not bad price. I mean, all things considered, I think I was selling loose, complete Astrotrains back in the day for about 30 Canadian. So obviously you can't compare it, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's, you know, it is what it is with how Hasbro's pricing is today. So the big difference between the two, from what I have heard online and seen online, is that this thing is much more darker in the purple areas. All the purple plastic on this one is significantly darker than the original. And on top of that, a lot of stickers are not applied onto the base Transformer. So that's another kind of giveaway, is that because the original Astrotrain, a lot of stickers were already applied. Where this one, it isn't. It's something you have to do in the aftermath of it. So if you are an individual that finds a loose Astrotrain and the purple just looks way too dark, almost like it's like a very dark purple, and the accessory too, his gun, which is gang molded with the purple, is also extremely dark, to the point that even the windows of the shuttle in the front almost kind of get washed out a little bit and almost not even noticeable, you got reissue Astrotrain. So I want to bring that up because this is going to be a problem later. You know, like even I'm trying to think of what was, you know, retail at the time, way back in like the early 2000s. And when you had the likes of Prowl and Red Alert and Sideswipe, I mean, you weren't mixing those up because there was very obvious differences, whether it be tampographs instead of the stickers and just the accessories having, major differences. Astrotrain's accessory here has not been safety changed. It's the original accessory, 100% like the original. So the only thing you got to go on is a different shade of purple. And it's pretty obvious. I mean, obviously it's a side-by-side thing. I'll post some images from an individual on the boards that posted some really nice photos comparing side-by-side. But this is something that we've had to get used to. Even recently, we had the Insecticon 3-pack, and that created a huge problem with the market because that 2008 Insecticon 3-pack, and then they did the reissue again. When that hit the market, they went on clearance at one point, and a lot of loose amounts of them end up in the secondary market. And because they're so similar to each other, to the original Generation 1s, people are picking up Insecticons thinking they're owning the original ones in just very minty condition with their chrome weapons, and then realizing after the fact they own a reissue. So it's something that for purists, and I'm guilty of it, I rather own the original than a reissue. Even if the reissue is pretty much 100% like the original, I still want to own the original product. I'm more of a historian when it comes to that. The only time I ever find myself buying reissues is when they're so significantly different than the original that it's intriguing to me. Like the Autobot blaster that was, I want to say it was a Fan Expo exclusive, but it also showed up in some winners and stuff locally here. But that Autobot blaster that came with Eject, Ramhorn, and Steeljaw, like that one had a completely different shade of gray. It was a really nice mixture and a very different departure from what the original toy was. Same thing even with the reissue Predaking they did a while back, where it came with the new accessory that came from Transformers Prime. Like they gave like a whole new sword and stuff. Like I dig that kind of stuff, and that's the kind of reissues that always catch my attention. Aside from obviously the e-hobby stuff, which is completely different repaints. But this is something that I just want to bring to people's attention. So in the coming months now, we're going to be hitting convention season soon, and the entire secondary market, and we're going to be going to conventions, and we're going to be seeing seas of loose mini bots, and we're not going to know, is this Sea Spray legit or not? Is this Warpath legit or not? Is this the original or is this a reissue? But now it's going to be the same thing with Astrotrain here. Obviously, the Optimus, no one's going to get fooled by that if it doesn't have a trailer. Some people are obviously going to try to fool you, and they're going to have a loose trailer and pair it with this reissue, but look for date stamps. That's usually on one of the legs and stuff like that. Just be careful of that kind of stuff. Just as many as there's very good, reputable, respectable dealers, there's always a few scumbags that are trying to sell you product that's not what it is. And so just keep an eye out now. There's going to be Astrotrains out there, and the ones that are really dark purple are not the originals. So just keep that in mind. And I love Astrotrain. He's easily one of my favorite Triplechangers. So just to let people know that there's now a variant out there, and it's not, you shouldn't be paying top dollar for something that really was made just a couple of months ago.